And speaking of prosecutors who say or do dumb things and get themselves in trouble, we got to discuss Pam Bondi. All the guys are shaking their heads no right now for the listening audience because none of us can believe this actually happened, but it did happen, and therefore we must discuss it. Pam Bondi said one of the dumbest things you can say as an attorney general. Do we have it here? I'm looking on my SOT list. Yeah, here it is.
Just said several very dumb things. Yeah.
Several, because she went on Fox News and she went on this podcast with someone named Katie Miller, and it's unbelievable. There was absolutely no pushback, but here's what Pam said in SOT 18.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Okay, so that is Stephen Miller's wife, my team reminds me. And while her husband fully understands the law.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, while her husband fully understands the law and has been behind the most critical policies of the Trump administration that have been very successful, she clearly doesn't, and she doesn't understand the conservative movement, or she would not have asked that question. What kind of a question is that? It was completely teed up in a way that sounds like a lefty. Are you going to crack down on hate speech? What the fuck? That is not a question that a conservative would ask. I don't understand what's happening there. And then for Pam Bondi to not say, whoa, sister, we on the right do not crack down on hate speech. We don't believe in that nonsense. There's this pesky document called the Constitution that doesn't allow it, but we don't even agree with it in principle, was kind of extraordinary. And I actually tweeted out this morning, there's no way Pam Bondi does not know that hate speech is protected under our Constitution. She must have meant, because given what Stephen Miller said to J.D. Vance when he was subbing on Charlie's show yesterday, Stephen Miller was talking about how we've got to crack down on these groups around people like the assassin who encourage it or know about it or who are part of it, but don't actually pull the trigger. My supposition on Twitter was X. Maybe she's talking about conspirators, people who are part of the conspiracy but don't actually do the act, but you would need to take at least one overt act, which would potentially make your speech part of a crime. I gave her too much credit. That's not what she was talking about. Because she came out with an X post this morning, Pam Bondi, and tried to say this: hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. Now that is another dodge, because all she needed to write was threats of violence are not protected by the First Amendment. Okay, now we're closer to an actual statement of the law.
But even
certain types of threats of violence.
Yeah, absolutely right. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for a threat to elevate itself into a threat that you can't actually utter in the United States of America. But prefacing that line with hate speech that crosses the line into threats is another fucked up thing to say. It's a cover for her erroneous statement earlier, right? It's her not being willing to admit she totally said the wrong thing as a moral principle, as an American principle, and as a legal principle. And this is like a long-winded way to try to make herself sound like she was more right than she was, which was not right at all. I'll give you guys the floor, and then we'll talk about what she said on Hannity. Who would like to take it? Well, we should hear from Matt Welch, who hasn't spoken in an hour.
Yeah. When Matt Welch and Matt Walsh
heir to the Zionists
on something, then that's impressive. Matt Walsh was correct in saying also, what the fuck? Well, that's not a direct quote.
He said she should be fired today.
She's fired, which is pretty strong. She should be fired. She's the Attorney General of the United States. Hate speech is not a legal category. Your job is as the top law enforcement person in the country. And you've just been asked a question about putting people in cuffs to show them a lesson. No, that is not how we do it here. It's a sign.
Wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, I did it wrong. I should play the Pam Bondi SOT on Hannity because you just referenced it. And this SOT is the reason Matt Welch says she should be fired. Here it is.
And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. You need to look at people who are saying horrible things, and they shouldn't be working with you. Businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. I have Harmeet Dillon right now in our civil rights unit looking at that immediately, that Office Depot had done that. We're looking at that.
Keep going, Matt.
So Office Depot fired the person or suspended them. They took their appropriate action for Office Depot. That's not a civil rights issue.
No.
The federal government is supposed to be enforcing civil rights. That's not it. You don't have a legal obligation as a company to print that flyer. I think you should print the flyer. What are you doing?
The cake baker in Colorado.
Holy crap, what are we even doing here? There's all these things adjudicated at the Supreme Court over and over again, and these are 9-0 issues, and they will be 9-0 issues, as our friend Charlie Cook rightly pointed out in a very good column in National Review today.
Yeah, it was great today.
It's garbage, and I'm heartened because Republicans and conservatives in the Trump era have spent a lot of time backtracking against or just sort of like repudiating their previously held positions on a lot of things, especially in economics, but not only. A lot of different ways they have done this. It's been heartening to watch basically everybody, Matt Welch, say, what are you talking about, Pam Bondi? Hate speech isn't a thing. This isn't embarrassing. You should go. They are right, and she should.
Go ahead, Kmele.
Well, Jonathan Karl, though, asked the president about this a little earlier this morning. And
so not everybody is what you're going to tell me here.
The
Do we
president's
have
answer
that?
Was not perfect.
We do. Here it is. Here it is.
What question was Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
We'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country.
That is the first genuine laugh I've had in a week.
Me too. I think in fairness, like Jonathan Karl's question was not very good. Like to the extent the president's allies and people beyond that orbit who say like hate speech, this is a problematic concept. It's not that we say that hate speech is free speech. We say hate speech is the nonsense concept in the United States. There are no prohibitions against hate speech in this country. It isn't a thing. It would, to the extent it would be a totally subjective category, and this is why it's a problem. It's separate from incitement. We can talk about that differently. And I think the president's preamble, in which he referred to like various media coverage as hate speech categorically, I think it's safe to say he was joking, but I wish that the answer, because I think a more serious answer came afterwards. We want to be fair.
But it is, he's not wrong.
I'm gonna try to
Everybody all over the
that.
airwaves calling him a Nazi and a fascist, that is hate speech, and it's lawful.
To the extent it could be anything. It could certainly be the case that we could categorize as that, but it is totally lawful, as you put it. And I think that's the point. But what the president isn't a lawyer is the most important point. And we know that. He's many things, but he's not a lawyer.
Can we watch the beginning of that again? I don't want to see the whole, I need to see the beginning. This is why. Let's rewrap
Pam
that.
Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech. Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
We'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart.
Okay. That's just vintage Trump. I love that
I would
response.
laugh more if he wasn't suing the New York Times again this morning.
Okay, but listen, he can do no other. You know, when asked a question like that by ABC News, he can do no other. Who could blame him for saying that? I think that was actually quite very funny. Go ahead, Moynihan.
Funny. I would say one thing about this is that we have this creeping concept of speech, like, is hateful speech, it becomes hate speech. Why does it become hate speech? Because it's a category in other countries. And it's why certain people that I know in other countries envy the United States. It is the most American thing is to have a First Amendment and to zealously protect it, even for the worst, shittiest ideas. That's why we have it. It's not for my ideas or your ideas. It's for those who have the really shitty ideas. So I don't love that we're using the phrase at all, because where it comes from is, I think that it's also very problematic, and for a reason that really depresses me. Can't even quite put my finger on it. We never have a conversation about the absurdity of hate crimes laws, because it's usually, adding a little extra flavor 5-10 years because of the thoughts that were going through somebody's head when they were committing a crime that was already on the books as a crime. Once we accepted that idea, it's a pretty easy navigation to say, well, there is hate speech. And
I don't know, but she as a Republican attorney general,
I'm not. No,
she should know better. Yeah.
She should
it's like
know.
this.
But she
this
should
is crazy.
resign.
Jack Phillips is the cake baker who said, I'm not going to bake that gay wedding cake because it doesn't align with my values. I'll bake you a cake, but I'm not going to put like the grooms on the front of it, and you can have any other pastry from my shop, but I can't be forced to endorse something that I don't endorse. And the Supreme Court said he's right. And they just reiterated that in 303 Creative 2 sessions ago. So she absolutely should know all of this. I'm concerned that they're talking this way. And I will be the first to criticize the Trump administration if it tries to actually crack down on, quote, hate speech. Now, having said all that, I have zero sympathy for the people who are getting fired because of their inhumanity in response to Charlie's assassination. Fire them all. I'm thrilled to see them getting their asses fired. You celebrate any political assassination, you're fireable, as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't mean it's a crime, doesn't mean the federal government should get involved. And if those losers in the Office Depot who were fired by Office Depot, who didn't want to print flyers with Charlie's photo on them, should be publicly shamed and they should be fired. I think that's fine. But they shouldn't be prosecuted. We have to know where our lines are. Anyway, I guess I stole the last word. Anyone want to weigh in? Anyone?
I don't like the false positives. There are people who are being punished and sanctioned professionally and in these online mobbings.
If you're just saying negative things about
pretty,
Charlie,
lame. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're just saying negative things about Charlie, that doesn't show very good character, and the man isn't even buried yet.
Your wife is saying negative things about him, and you're losing your job because of it. Which
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's not right.
But if you are celebrating his death, I'm all for the firings. All for them.
And if you were for my company and you are so stupid to put your dumb ideas online for everyone to see, are you kidding me? You get fired for being that dumb, not for your speech, just for you being an idiot. Keep your bad, shitty ideas to yourself.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.